Gracias, Creador y Creadora, por este día de mi vida. Thank you, Creator, for another day of life. Thank you, relatives of this Lashana Ohlone land and this occupied part of Turtle Island they call Oakland. Thank you, relatives of the Ohlone Lashana Nation, for still being here 529 years later. Shout out to Karina and Deja and Cheyenne and Shane and Anaya and so many more. Thank you to our brothers and sisters who are just spirit carriers now and watch over us, who have died on these stolen streets because of the lies of capitalism and poverty. And thank you to my son, Tibu, who sometimes is a pain in the ass, but who I still love. And to Mama D, for without whom there'd be no us. Ashe ho umadeo.
Nice. Beautiful prayer.
Right. I
feel so touched by it. I feel filled with godly energy. I'm ready to start. Oh my God, I didn't even turn the mic on.
What is eldership? So, Tibu, what you've learned, thanks to my guidance and to Mama D's guidance and to your other uncles and aunties and grandmamas and abuelitas, what is eldership?
Yeah. We touched a little bit on it in our last show, but eldership is, being respectful to your elders, to the ones who came before you, and being aware that their knowledge and wisdom is something that you need to take into account. And it comes in many different forms. It isn't just being like forced polite to your elders. Eldership isn't always easy. We take the example of Uncle Bruce and helping take care of him in his house. Definitely wasn't easy. Isn't easy currently. And it's
we love you, Bruce.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Man. But that's how it works. It's eldership is that idea of your elders cared for you. Taking the example of Bruce again, when I was in elementary school, he walked me home from school every day, and he made sure that I was safe. He made sure I was taken care of. He made sure that I was happy. Told jokes. He went above and beyond in terms of making sure that I felt like I had someone to talk to, or I had someone who, was just there for me. And then I returned that favor, And that's really eldership when it boils down to it. It could be a bunch of things. It could be, showing your shoulder. It can be deference. It can be calling your elders sir and ma'am. It could be, all the things that sound good, but when it really boils down to it, eldership is taking care of your elders just as they took care of you. That's really what it is.
Right, but that sounds really simple, and so if people are listening, they're like, "Oh, I'm respectful to elders," or I go and visit my auntie, or I call my mom every day. Really? How's that actually sacrificing your comfort and your capitalist reality in a very real way for the folks who came before you, upon whose shoulders you're standing, and upon whose lives you have to thank for all that you've become? I want to be real that it is not just blood related. Uncle Bruce is not your blood related uncle.
No.
He's a fellow poverty scholar who was houseless on the streets of Frisco for years. He's a veteran of this military-industrial complex, that horrible war of our relatives in Vietnam. He watched babies be killed behind the guns he was carrying. He is a survivor of so much trauma, of being called ableist slurs, like a retard. And that's an ableist slur, by the way, those of you listening. Don't ever use that word. But he was called that over and over again. And so he walks with so much shame and so much pain, and yet he is a beautiful person. And sometimes he's not a beautiful person. And sometimes he slathered his whole apartment because of his mental illness and struggle and physical illness with fecal matter. Yes, I did say fecal matter. And this young man, and Amir, and Akil, and Uncle Moteado, and Uncle Israel, and Uncle Teo, and myself, and Tony Robles, went and actually helped clean that fecal matter off those walls. Not once, not twice, but every week. And continue to. And hold our beautiful Uncle Bruce no matter what. And he's just one of many. Why? Because he's a survivor and he's an elder. And there's also brings up that other issue. Just because you're older than someone, it doesn't mean you're an elder. And that gets into a deeper conversation. There are some of our elders who are, pedophiles and abusive people who we can't even necessarily even be around. And so there's that too.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's interesting because when it's more complicated, than just saying everybody who's an old person is an elder, right? An elder is a title that, as Angel Heart said, not everyone, like you said also, not everyone deserves to be an elder. An elder is a title that you are given by your loved ones who you cared for, right? And that's what's important, is that whether, like you said, whether they're familial relations or not, whether it's blood ties or not, I just got done with the Slave Revolt Radio 96.1 KEXU, with Uncle Gerald, right? And that's my elder, because when I was 15, 16, 17, he was teaching me how to be a radio engineer when I was supposed to be the one who already knew what to do and was being his co-host. I was messing up the show that he spent time on every week, messing up timing, muting people's voices on accident, doing all kinds of mistakes.
Right.
But he would always be patient. He would always be like, it's okay, we'll get it next time, you got it. And it was that energy, it was that caring nature of Uncle Gerald that allowed me to be the radio engineer that I am today, right? And that's actual eldership.
Right.
And then the thing is too, is that we think of eldership as a one-way street. And eldership also means being that elder. Eldership actually also means being that person that people can be respecting and looking up to, because as an elder, you're also someone who imparts that wisdom. As an elder, you also have the responsibility of being a role model, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just a one-way street of, I respect my elder because they're an elder.
Right.
I respect my elder because they are showing me so much, and they have taken care of me, and they have done so much for me, but also because I love them,
Well, and that's real. But I also want to bring up that our elders are not always user-friendly.
Yeah.
Right? And in capitalist society, we're taught that when someone is difficult or messy or complicated or angry, we should turn away from them because they're just too difficult to deal with. And that's another thing I want to resist. Ibaye Mamadi, for without whom there'd be no me, who I lived with to the day she transitioned, who this guy had the blessing of meeting and being a grandson of. A revolutionary, OG poverty scholar, a survivor of so much torture. We were on the street for years, houseless. The key part about that, though, is my mama was not user-friendly. She was angry a lot. She had every right to be. And that concept of discarding or throwing somebody away because they're difficult is also rooted in capitalist notions of boundaries, and that's complicated, that person's hard, I don't want to deal with them, and because they're no longer productive in this society, we have the elder ghetto industrial complex to take care of them. In other words, we've turned eldership into a product.
Yeah.
I want to call in Mama Roselia Jaramillo, the Mama Doctora right here at Homefulness, who has so much wisdom, just like Mama D did, on the hierbas to heal anything that in white science, right, supposedly has a pill for. Mama Roselia, who is Mama of Muteado, shout out to Moot, is complicated and difficult and grumpy a lot of times.
Yeah.
She's also an amazing cook and a powerful community healer. So it's about recognizing also that our elders are multifaceted, that they have wisdom because of their age and their lives, and that in that wisdom and that time on Mama Earth, there is a gift for all of us in these generations below them. And yes, thank you, Tibu, for talking about that you're an elder as well. So for all the young folks who might be listening and watching, you're elders to somebody else. In West African culture, as Dr. Wade Nobles taught my mama, you can be 1 year older than a person and be their elder. It means you have a responsibility, a carga, as we say in Mexica tradition, to teach, to model, and to shape.
Yeah.
And for all that said, as we close out today, I wanted to bring up a powerful young man, Chris Bonsalat, who has a TikTok channel that everybody should follow. And Chris, if you happen to see or hear this, we love you so much. This mama says you're such a good son. Next week we're going to get more into the concept of good son and daughter and the specifics of that, because this is a topic that we will be dealing with all the time. But the specific notion of that. But Chris has a TikTok channel, and in his TikTok channel, one of the things he does is take care of his beautiful Lola. So we're going to watch this for a minute.
Have a sip. Thanks. Okay ka mo, grandma?
Magkera ka.
Magkira na ka.
Nanood ako.
Apo.
Anak na kaning anak ko.
Kap na mo, balo mo pa.
Balo na kay emo ko paboren. Sa sopa mo nananggawan.
Emo ko kakalingwan, ne?
Alido ko. Alida kay dakakalingon.
Okay. This is for you if you're not using a hoist or one of those machines. Make sure to lock the wheelchair. Get as close to your patient, or in this case, my grandmother, as possible. Get a nice little arm drag to expose the back. Then you're gonna slide your hand to the back for support. You're gonna put your other hand under the legs for support. Get as close as possible. This is very important. Brace and lift with your legs. Just like that. Did something come with you? Whatever. I'll remove it.
That's a beautiful brother right there. Thank you so much for the work you do for grandma. And yeah, that's partly what I was saying about, she took care of him when he was a baby, you know? She probably lifted him the same way when he was falling asleep as a little kid,
Right.
And that's beautiful, is that he recognized it, even though, because I've seen other videos from him, he does like a lot of stuff too. He's in school, he's doing other things. But like, he recognized that needs to be a priority in his life.
Oh.
Is taking care of the ones that took care of him. And he lives in the United States of America, that is a place that strongly discourages that kind of thinking.
Ashe.
So,
and shames you.
It shames you for thinking that way. I wanted to ask one question before we end it out. That might seem a bit off topic to what we were talking about.
Wait, before you do that, though, another shout out to Mutialo for being a good son, but also
definitely.
For taking care of his mama. But go ahead.
Always has. No,
right.
Definitely.
Right.
Just a bit, it was a bit skewed, but I've been thinking about this for a while. It's because... Hello. Sorry, guys. The camera went down. Happens all the time. Okay, last thing I just want to say quickly and ask. Might be a bit off topic, but specifically about... it does relate to being an elder. We talked about Mama D not always being user friendly, right? Not always being somebody who was in that way able to be a lot of what you are for me. And I just had this burning question. It's been on my mind all day. How were you able to be that person for me when there wasn't as much of that person in terms of parenting for you? How are you able to like come up with that? And I'm really curious on that.
Through, that's actually a bigger question. That might be another show.
Definitely, but maybe it's
but
like a
I'll
little
just
snippet.
touch on it. The touch on it piece is more that, like, I for those of you listening and watching, and you too know this, we practice multiple spirit traditions, and one is I'm a child of Eshu in the Ifa tradition. Eshu is the Orisha of the crossroads. My madrina, which is the person who reads your spirit, when we were talking about this very thing, when I was going through it, said something to me because she knew how much my mom, how much trauma she lived and walked with.
Yeah.
She said, for you, you'll be a little, if you work really hard, you'll be a little bit better than mama. Because, I'm not perfect. And we've had our struggles. Just in terms of poverty and being on the street ourselves and being in positions and spaces where I wouldn't even want to have a child be. But that was because of what I dealt with. That we ended up homeless, really, at the end of that, even though it was also gentrification. It was also the reality that I had no backup, I had no money, I had no one in that way, right? So I would say that it's through listening carefully to my elders, to learning, and to also making a commitment to try to heal in me what was broken in my mom. And I think I'll leave it right there.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Closing prayer. Can I do the closing prayer
Please.
today? Thank you. Thank you to ancestors. Thank you to Mother Earth. Thank you to all of the forces that brought us here today. I just want to give a lot of energy to all of the elders in our life right now who have been holding on for so long through eviction, through gentrification, through COVID, through all the things that make it difficult for them to just exist
Auntie Francis.
on this world. Auntie Francis,
Mommy,
Uncle
Eva,
Bruce, Mommy, Gerald, all of the people who are in our life right now who are elders and who are struggling. I just want to give a big thanks to you, and I just want to send all my energy of my youth, all my vibrance, because I definitely have a bit too much of it that it's just I feel like it's being wasted on me, so I need to send that energy to my elders, and I just want to leave it at that. Amen, Ashe, Ometeo.
Oh, Mateo. Thank you, everybody.
Peace out,
Tune
y'all.
in next week.
Bye, y'all.